question for Rosie. Was everybody around you comfortable with you making a film about her being a transvestite, or were people at all wary of the fact that you were holding a camera and that you were going to tell a story that they initially were ashamed of?
They were actually pretty okay with it. Like, we expected the villagers to be a bit like, oh, you know, like ashamed of who she is. But we found out that there were actually quite a few of Rosie type people in that village, and they were all like designers. Like, one was a wedding gown designer, but she wasn't in her shop, so we couldn't like interview her, do a film on her. But they were pretty comfortable. As you can tell, you know, her aunt, her brother, her niece, they were all pretty okay with what she is.
It helped that we had language connection.
Yeah.
Because we had a Malay friend interview them, so they spoke in Malay, and it helped to establish a connection.
Do you guys intend to go back and further the story, because you were a little bit, yeah, you mentioned that you had quite a shortage of times, and I think there's quite a potential for a rich story to unfold, so I'm wondering if you're thinking about that. Yeah.
You want to go back to Sarawak?
I think no.
We have no plans at the moment because our group is really huge, and we had 8 people, right? Yeah, it was the largest among all of us, and very hard to coordinate. Some of us are also a bit scared to go back.
Why is that so?
Because, well, you know, you interview people like that, and then you sort of like walk into their lives, you make a film about them. I feel like sometimes it's a bit invasive. So if you keep coming back, it's like you are, you know, barging into their privacy and keep making use of them. So yeah, I'd rather.
Pretty interesting because she showed us pictures of her dressed up as a woman, and she looked really, really different. Like, she's 43, but she has a boyfriend who is 22 years old. So like, we couldn't really include that. Yeah. But that was the interesting part.
Couldn't include that because
it didn't fit with our theme. We didn't have enough sound bites to go with that visual, so we felt that the message wouldn't come across.
the way you describe it, I think we want to see it on screen. I would want to actually.
We at the substation we do try to focus a lot more on short films, and that goes on with short stories as well. What I like about the selection usually at first take is that they're usually very simple ideas, and it's fleshed out with writing and through your script and then through your editing, it becomes an actual film. But I'm wondering, a lot of times I think when people have a concept, it has to go through a lot of rewrites as well to actually see whether it becomes your vision on the screen, or it might totally differ from what you actually thought of in the first place. So I'm wondering whether, did any of you guys have to go through such a process, and was it very, very difficult to actually come to the final product that we are seeing now on the big screen?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I made mention earlier that the initial story that I had structured was much longer, and then when I actually wrote a rough draft of the script, it was shorter, but still had what I find my biggest issue when it comes to writing is just too much dialogue, just filled with dialogue that's just not needed. And I mean, we can tell we had a couple of shorts here that had no dialogue or very little, and it still worked perfectly well as stories. So I had to keep going back to the page over and over and over and over again. And as far as creating what you make on the page, there's a great quote, I forget who said it, but that your film is born on the page, it dies on set, and it's reborn in the editing room. And that, what is born in that editing room is never what was written. So you just have to have an open mind and be ready to make a new film when you start cutting.
Yeah, I remember we actually we spent, like what I mentioned previously, we spent most of our time actually tweaking a story and trimming down a story, than the actual production. So yeah, I guess what you say was actually correct. Our initial ideas was like really fancy animations, all this. But eventually we have to, you know, it's not really a limit, but you know, because of the deadlines and stuff like that, we have to know what we are capable of doing, stuff like that, and you know, to try to maximize what we can do in that time frame, or even what we are capable of doing. Like what I said, I'm not really a 3D animator, so we were like doing and learning stuff as well. We changed our scripts and doing editing like along the way as well. So I can't really say this is what we initially thought of, but I do believe it came out well, I guess. Yeah.
And for Morphine as well.
Actually, what happened was my co-writer and I, we went through the script several times, and she disagreed with a lot of things I put in. And yeah, we changed the script several times, and it was actually a lot longer than what we saw, with a lot more dialogue towards the end. But I think while editing the film, I realized that dialogue was actually not necessary. So it did go through a lot of changes to come out with this final product.
We didn't have a script.
It's really on the fly.
Yes, it was all impromptu.
And we started piecing everything together during editing.
Yeah, and that's when we realized, oh my gosh, this is not working.
Okay.
For us, this was actually our last project for the module, so the filming was a separate section. So our script actually came first, so we had to sort of write it and then submit it with our storyboards, our mood boards and everything. So we had to settle it and then receive our grade and then decide if we were going to shoot it or come up with the new idea. So it was, I think that was like the third draft of the script, and then we settled it early because we really didn't have any time. And yeah, I think the person you quoted was right. It sort of died onto that because we sort of filmed it within 2 afternoons because we still had our final project to do. So we filmed it within 2 afternoons, and then we just passed it on to our editor who did everything else, and we were so grateful for her. But yeah, so script, third draft, and 2 days on set, and that was it.
Yeah.